Hey guys, Cameron with TV Reviews here, and I'm here to interrupt your quarantine to give you a top 10 list today. Now, it's gonna be a while until we get our next MCU movie because of everything that's going on. The movies are being pushed back, and understandably so. That doesn't mean that I still can't be excited for certain aspects of these movies. And if there's one thing that I usually enjoy when it's done properly is a great villain. So I'm going to give you the top 10 MCU villains that I am looking forward to see whether or not I'm going to get to see them. And we're about to get started right now. I'm about to dive in, but first and foremost, I want to thank you for clicking on this video. It means a whole lot to me. If you could do me a huge favor and click that like button because it raises the visibility of this channel. If you're a fan of this sort of thing, or even comic book movie reviews, which I'm not going to do for a while, or even TV shows, click that subscribe button. And last but certainly not least, if you want to know as soon as I put anything on this channel, click the notification bell. You'll know as soon as anything is uploaded. Now, some of these villains on this list are villains that we know are coming or villains that have been referenced. So some of them are not going to be a surprise. Others are wishful thinking, and others are, well, of course they're coming. It's just going to be a while. Not only is this going to be a top 10 villains I want to see list, but I'm going to give you the movie I want to see them in, and I'm going to give you who I think should be cast in the role. Number 10, Magneto. Magneto is quite honestly my favorite comic book villain, and yet I put him as number 10 on this list because we have seen Magneto for the last 20 years, and we've also seen Magneto done properly for the last 20 years. So in all honesty, even though there are some other villains on this list that I've seen, because we've seen so many iterations and so many different times of Magneto done properly, I am not in a rush to see him. I do want to see a new version. As far as the movie that I want to see them in, no surprise, whenever the X-Men debut, I want to see that new Magneto. Now, as far as who I would cast as Magneto, you can click that video right there and you'll see exactly who I chose to play the master of magnetism. Number 9, Mephisto. Mephisto is a character that I really don't have that much connection to, but we have not seen him in any Marvel movie, MCU or not. So this would be a new iteration for a character that has been around for a long time. Essentially, the Marvel's equivalent to Satan. Now, in all honesty, they could choose a different interpretation of this character, like say if they explore the 9 realms in Thor Love and Thunder and they go to Muspelheim, which is kind of like the lava/fire realm, Mephisto could be there. Now, who I think should play the role, in all honesty, is somebody who we know is going to be in Thor Love and Thunder, and that's Christian Bale. I think that he has a very devious or ominous vibe that he could really give to that character. Plus, whenever he commits to a role, he acts the hell out of it. And that's what I want to see in Mephisto. So, that makes my number 9 slot. Number 8, Mole Man. Yes, the very first Fantastic Four villain makes the top 10 slot. And it's another case of a character that we've never seen in a Marvel movie before. There have been 3 other Fantastic Four movies, and even though Mole Man was the very first villain in the comics, he's never made an appearance at all in the movies. So this would be a first shot. As far as the movie, of course, whenever the Fantastic Four make their debut, I would like Mole Man to be the villain. And as far as who I would cast, pow, you can check that out. But you know, that's if you want to check out the rest of them. I'm very proud of my Danny DeVito pick. Number 7, the Mandarin. The Mandarin has been teased throughout the infancy of the MCU to current. Whenever we had the very first Iron Man movie, he was kidnapped by an organization known as the 10 Rings, which is very synonymous to the Mandarin. Then in Iron Man 3, you had the 10 Rings return and a character who called himself the Mandarin, who turned out to be a fake. Then you had Cillian, it's not Cillian Murphy. That's an actor. Then you had Guy Pearce play a character who then announced later on that he was the Mandarin. But as we found out, this was also a fake, because in a Marvel short, Return of the King, you find out that there is actually a Mandarin. And I would like to see him show up in Shang-Chi, but that's not going to be something that I can hope for. It's something that we already know is going to happen, and he's already been cast. Tony Chu Wai Lung, I hope I pronounced that correctly, is going to be playing the authentic, honest-to-goodness Mandarin, and because of the setting and because of the cast, this is not going to be a character that is stereotyped or done poorly as we've seen in other Mandarin interpretations, and hopefully it will be done to the most authentic nature without being too stereotypical, because, you know, comics history has done that before. Number 6, Taskmaster. Again, it's a character that I know we're going to see, because not only do we know he's going to be in Black Widow, but we've seen images, we've seen him in both trailers, so it's a done deal. I'm going to get to see Taskmaster. He's one of the coolest Marvel villains that gets underappreciated. We didn't actually get to see him in a very cool role, in my opinion, until side missions in the Spider-Man game for PS4. So it's about time that he gets a big screen role. Now, as far as who's playing him in the movie, I don't know. I went to IMDb to kind of do a little bit of research, but I didn't want to go like too down the rabbit hole, but he's not listed on IMDb. There are some actors that look like, it's like, okay, I think that's who it is, but I don't want to assume, so I'm just putting a big old question mark around this one. Who's playing the Taskmaster? We will find out whenever it eventually releases. Number 5, Baron Mordo. You almost forgot that Mordo was a bad guy in the comics based on his representation in the first Doctor Strange movie. That being said, I really enjoy that Baron Mordo, I'm better than you vibe, and here's the perfect setup for that feeling was done in the first Doctor Strange movie. I actually recently watched it last night, and the bill comes due. It's coming up. I want to see Baron Mordo in the second Doctor Strange movie, because we've already seen Dormammu, and I really don't want to see Dormammu in the second one, but I think that Baron Mordo would be a perfect antagonist for the second movie, especially with the setup that we've already been given. Yeah, that's the intro. Number 4, Kraven the Hunter. Now we're getting into that, I don't know, are we going to see this character? And I think we're definitely going to see Kraven the Hunter finally. My favorite guilty pleasure villain, because he's definitely not my favorite villain, but I love the character regardless. We've never seen him in a Spider-Man movie at all, which is kind of surprising because there have been so many Spider-Man movies that have focused on that old school villain list. So we've seen the Vulture, and we've seen the Lizard, and we've seen Mysterio and the Green Goblin, and we've seen Sandman. You know, we've seen all of these classic villains, and Kraven keeps getting skipped over. It's time to give Kraven his due. And normally I would pick somebody kind of like a little bit lower key, but I'm gonna be honest, I want Jason Momoa to be as savage and ruthless and you know, Kraven the Hunter-y as he possibly can be. I don't know how long he's going to be doing Aquaman in the DCEU, and I actually really enjoy him as Aquaman, but I think that there's something really primal that we could get out of a Kraven the Hunter role. And I don't want to see him in the third Spider-Man movie. I want to see him premiere in Black Panther 2. I want to see him be like this poacher guy, or somebody who's doing like a hunting show, and he's not supposed to be in Wakanda, but he's so good at what he does that he actually slips through the Wakandan defenses, which would put him on a very high level, which is where I feel Kraven should be. So I don't want to see him in Spider-Man. First off, I want to see him tackle some wildlife in Wakanda. Number 3, Dr. Octopus. I named off a whole bunch of Spider-Man villains in the last one, but I didn't name Dr. Octopus on purpose because I wanted him to have his own section, and I love Doc Ock. Doc Ock is my favorite Spider-Man villain, and we have seen two great versions of Dr. Octopus, one in Spider-Man 2, and then a female version, Liv Octavius, in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which I really wish I could have seen some more of her in that. But it's time for the MCU to take their crack at Doc Ock, and this one I do want to see in Spider-Man 3. And if not in Spider-Man 3, in the fourth Spider-Man entry where he gets all of the other villains together and forms the Sinister Six, blah, blah, blah. Everybody has their theories about how that's going to come around because according to the Morbius trailer, it's apparently happening. But as far as who I want to see play Doc Ock, I've got a video right there where I give my top 10 entries on who could play Doc Ock. Number 2, Kang the Conqueror. I have made it known that my number one spot, which if you've been watching my channel, you know who it is. I would love for my number one spot to be the next big bad for the Avengers or the entire MCU universe to fight up against, taking the spot of Thanos. But as far as Avengers 5, which is where I want this villain to show up, Kang the Conqueror takes that list. I love the fact that Kang is super threatening, and we have yet to see him show up on any, movie, MCU, no mention. But the fact that they use time travel in Avengers Endgame opens the door for Kang the Conqueror, who is like senior time travel, to come up and say, you guys are in my playground and I gotta make you pay. And as far as who I want to see, I want to see somebody who, don't touch your face, it's COVID season. I want to see someone who has villain written all over their face. I want to see somebody who has done this before, just not in the MCU. And when it comes to somebody who gets villainous roles over and over again and they never disappoint, Mark Strong would make a great Kang the Conqueror. Just some blue makeup, some face paint, and some, war attire. Boom, perfect Kang the Conqueror. And number 1, no surprise, Dr. Doom. I want to see Dr. Doom be the next big, super bad villain in the MCU. It's not a surprise for those of you who have subscribed to the channel for a while now. And as far as the first movie I want to see him in, I don't want to see him in anybody else's movie. I want Dr. Doom to have a standalone movie. I would like for the movie to be rated R. Not just, not because of horrible language, but I want Doom's story to be so tragic and visceral and raw that, parents, don't bring your kids to watch Dr. Doom. This is adult time now. And as far as who I'd like to play, I also did a top 10 list where I gave my top 10 actors that I would like to see portray Victor Von Doom. So you can check that out. But those are the top 10 MCU villains that I am looking forward to seeing, whether or not they're coming. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Share this with your friends. This is Cameron with CBM Reviews. We'll see you next time.